Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. You're going to be okay. Yes, the seatbelt sign is still on. Patrick's in the cockpit, but we are about to come in for a crash landing on the Hudson. Everyone's going to be fine. It just doesn't feel like that, does it? Because it looks bad when it happens. This was a hair of your chinny chin chin game. I'm glad they got it done. Super happy the way they were able to run the ball. We'll talk about that coming up. We'll answer some of your questions, and we're going to give you the real deal about why in the hell is this happening. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome to RGR Football. It's a late night SNL. That's Sunday Night Live like you get every week from us. Like, sub, hit the bell, become part of Rogue Nation because this is what we do. Dan, I want to be happy. I want to be excited about Pacheco's night and the fact that they decided to run the ball right at him, and they had to do what I've been telling them to do for like 7 years. And then they do this stupidity that I just can't keep up with. Even it got to Patrick, and that's what shocked me the most. He knows better than to throw off his back foot. He knows better than just put crap up because that's how last season started. So what happened? What did you see? Tell me it's going to be okay, please.
Well, I think it's going to be okay eventually. But this was a lot of the Chiefs got up 17. They're feeling good. And then they just went back and turned their car off. They said, we are coasting down this hill and we're just going to turn it off. And then the Jets were like, wait a second. We got a safety here.
We play too.
We're getting the ball back, right? That means we get the ball back. So we can actually go do something with that. And when you're, like I said, I was telling Ryan before the show, if you're in a car that's not moving because you've turned it off and somebody is behind you chasing you, what do you think's going to happen? Oh, they're going to catch up to you eventually. You know why? Because you're not moving. This is what happens when you don't play the game all the way through the game. We've talked about this. We made it a point last week. And guess what? They showed up against the Bears. Congratulations. Congratulations, you did it. And then you went ahead and said, well, Jets aren't going to catch us. Well, whoop-de-doodle-doo. They did. And you nearly lost a game. And Patrick was just sitting back there throwing balls that I have never really seen him throw. Ever. Like, it was bad decision-making. It was off of the back foot, which he, again, knows not to do. A lot of drifting back in the pocket because of the offensive line not picking up the stunts, putting pressure right up the middle, and he's having to run, fade back, fade away, all that stuff. It didn't look good. Here was a throw that he muscled down to MVS that went maybe 40 yards, and it was all wobbly. I'm just like, yeah, what's going on here? So yeah, I'd love to be able to fill your sails and get you going. But this game was disgusting. And yes, they won. They're 3-1. Awesome. It would be awful to be the Bengals. Yes, they are 1-3. This is not the way you want to get to being 3-1 off of what we thought was going to be the way the offense moves forward. So ugly game.
Oh, it certainly was. And folks, we're going to try to get some of your questions, but we will answer all your questions tomorrow night on the Monday Night Live. That's what that show is for. You drive the answering, but we do have a few in here. We're going to get to it in just a couple of minutes, but want to point out a few things statistically that we should be paying attention to. And that's really what it comes down to when you see just the comparison. Pacheco ended with 5.8 yards a carry. At one point to end the second half, he was at 10.8. And that's the biggest difference here, despite the turning point that was that safety, despite the fact that Juwan Taylor was lined up correctly tonight, but decided not to block everybody very well. Honestly, I had frustrations even when he was making blocks because it didn't look pretty. It didn't look like at the end of the night, on a night where Patrick throws for 200 yards and Zach Wilson, of all people, throws for 245 and almost doubles Patrick's passer rating. Yes, that is legit there, folks. These are the real numbers. It's just crazy to see. And I come back to that play in particular. The only reason that play, that hold whatever in, which technically I think the broadcast even did a good job showing that technically, if you follow the letter of law, it started outside the end zone. It shouldn't have been a safety, whatever. None of that should have mattered. It shouldn't have been a factor because I just think despite how good the Jets defensive front was, I just felt like they showed up and were like, yeah, we're the Chiefs. We got this back. KT's rolling now. We're going to get him the ball. We're going to run. It just felt like, again, they took an opponent too lightly because they don't happen to have been to an AFC championship recently. You know, they get up for the Bills. They get up for the Bengals. Didn't seem that they had the appropriate response preparation for the Jets to me.
Yeah. And when you saw them get like a catch in their chest when the Jets started playing defense, guess where the ball was going to? Tight ends and your running back. The wide receivers were not getting the ball. They weren't being thrown the ball. And when Patrick doesn't get the ball spread around, he goes to his comfort place. And that's the tight ends and the running backs. That's a problem. It's a problem. And it clearly was a problem and nearly cost them the football game because guess what? All they're doing is sitting on him. Hey, go ahead, throw it. We'll just rally and tackle. Or better yet, when you do throw it, because you're going to throw it off your back foot, we're just going to pick it off or almost pick it off because you and your tight end are not on the right page right here. So when you're forced to get into uncomfortable situations, a well-designed and effort playing defense is going to give it to you. And the Chiefs got it real good after the first quarter of this football game, only scoring 6 points after. That's abysmal.
And here's the key. Robert Saleh is a well thought of head coach and an even more respected defensive coordinator. Every team's going to take this blueprint like you saw the Bengals 2 years ago, and they're going to try to replicate it. They don't have the athletes to do that, but they will try. But so this is not, the story is not far from over. We're going to see a ton of it. But you bring up a good point, and I want to throw this back up there so that everybody can see. This is the possession chart. And you see the one thing that you have in common here is when they needed it, when they had to go score points in the second half and nothing was working and they had to get something done, it was these two drives to end the second and to end the fourth quarters. 10 plays, 14 plays. When the wide receivers were targeted, they were on short routes. They were just moving the ball in smaller chunks. They didn't have to go for the deep balls. Clearly, they were not there to be had. And this was, I think, again, something that didn't look like they had in the game plan to begin with. This was, they thought that everybody's going to still play man on him. They got sauce. They're going to let him do his thing. We're going to have our opportunities. And they didn't. And so, again, this is, I think, going back to the old days where you think, I'm just going to be able to do what I want, and you're not. So they have to take this to heart. And they have to make sure that these 10 and 14 and 15 play drives are something that they can replicate. That comes from the run game. Super happy with that. Not every lineman was at his optimal blocking tonight. Pacheco made up for a couple of guys. There are also still some gaps, and there's a couple of home runs that could have been hit that were missed. But overall, this is the kind of game that I want this team to be able to win. The one where you can't just throw the ball wherever you want, where you have to earn it, and you have to grind it, and you have to be the more physically dominant team. And despite Quinnen Williams and a good group of guys that he plays with, in the end, overall, in the whole game, I will tell you that the Chiefs' offensive line edged out the Jets' defensive line by just this much in order to get this win. Am I crazy?
No, just a little bit. It was the margins. But when you're able to run the ball like the Chiefs ran the ball in this game, honestly, they should have been able to do whatever they wanted to. They were, but if you notice, they were moving the ball, moving the chains when they were running the ball well. When they went away from it, again, like they like to do, they couldn't do anything. And again, this comes back to the personnel groupings. They're a heavy dose of 11 personnel this week. Heavy dose. At least 2/3 of their plays were out of 11 personnel. And when they were working early in the game, it was you mixed in 11, 12, and 13. There was a couple plays later in the game where they ran the exact same play out of 13 personnel, and the Jets were like, oh, we recognize that, and they stuffed it for 0 or negative gain. The creativity disappears when you're holding your breath, hoping you can get a positive play. You go back to the same things that worked, and defenses are smart. They're really good, and Robert Saleh is an excellent defensive coordinator. They're going to see that kind of stuff, but I think finally they started to bring out the 11 and then run the ball out of 11 personnel in that fourth quarter drive. And that's really what did it. They have to be able to bring 11 out and run out of 11 and not 12 and not 13, because they're going to play still predominantly a lot of 11 personnel. You can run out of that. That's how you win football games, especially in December and in January.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it was drive 6. Let me check. Yeah. So drive 6 was that pitch to Pacheco that he had two pullers out front of him. That was, if for all of you that are wondering, like, hey, where's Matt Nagy in this? This is Matt Nagy. the crazy run parts, the things where you're pulling dudes everywhere, you're misdirecting. That's Matt Nagy. Is Matt like the power guy, go grind out a yard? No, he's still crazy, just like he is in the pass game. But that's the creativity that we've been waiting for in the run side. If they can do that, you can find a number of ways to do that. And I just did a quick search because I wanted to make sure I had it right. 5 times I wrote pitch down in this ball game, and that makes me happy. Between the draws that you got last week and the pitches that I got this week, they're finally listening. And folks, if you want to review all these notes, just join the memberships down below the notes over there. You can find that join button. If you're at the rookie level or above, you'll get these every week from me over on the community side, where I can give you direct links. This is my raw stuff. You're going to find cuss words in there, so don't be sharing it with the kids or nothing. And I'm going to tell you exactly what we saw, who did what and where and when.
Yeah.
There are negatives in there and there are positives in there. And that's kind of like the way this whole thing goes. I do want to get to the questions. Thank you, Knicks fan, for supporting us. Very much appreciate you, as we always do. I have my thoughts on this, but how do you take the solid response?
I'm not surprised. Again, if it were reversed, you would probably see quite a few heads being lost on the Chiefs sideline. But in the same breath, there were lots of missed calls, calls that ended up being turned against the Chiefs, like Breece Hall grabbing at a defensive man, Derek Notty's face mask. You're allowed to put your hand on it, but you can't grab it. And instead that turns into a horse collar tackle. You don't see the Chiefs losing their heads. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they're just better in that moment. But Robert Saleh wanted to win this game more than he wanted to win anything ever. And you could tell because he was mad. He was mad that a call went against him in a moment like that, just like it did against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl last year. You can't get away with stuff when guys are when they're looking at 3rd and long and 3rd downs are being scrutinized by these referees. And again, I tweeted it out, and I'm going to say it here. I am never going to argue with anything outside of my TV about refereeing, ever. I will never argue with anybody except my TV, because you want to know why? They don't talk back, and they don't know anything. I'm allowed to get mad at my TV, and that's where it will stay. I won't bring it in here. I won't bring it on Twitter. I will bring it to my TV, and then leave it there.
Don't do what I do, because when I get really pissed, I start throwing stuff at the TV, and that gets very expensive very fast. So just be careful with that part. But Knicks fan, let's be honest. Robert Saleh is a guy that, for most quarterbacks that he plays, he's the guy who gets the call. If there's a question, if it's a hair trigger, he gets the call. That's how good his defenses have been over the years. So I can see that being it too. But honestly, it wasn't much of a strain. That was a clear hold. He turned MVS's shoulders. It was not
you're put
slight.
An arm up here and you yank, even if you let go, which he did.
Yeah.
He yanked and then he let go. Guess what? It's a hold.
You're gonna get it.
It's just what it is. I'm sorry. You want to get mad about it? Fine. Like I said, leave it. Scream at your TV all you want to. Jets fans, go for it. It's not going to change anything.
Royce, this is a bad habit, dude. You got to stop. I've only gone through 1. 3 is bad. That is too much, my friend. Good Lord. Knicks fan, thank you again. Appreciate your support, pal. And for you Jets fans, we're happy you're here. We're not trying to run you out. Just trying to say that horse collar was bullshit. Let's see what else. There's a number of calls that went back and forth. So like you get some, you don't get some. It was a timing thing. I don't think it was any worse a call than anything else that went on that in this ball game. So, Tom, talk about an ugly game. It doesn't look like this offense look good on the offensive side. I think we have a wide receiver problem, and I know you agree with that. But be specific as to why. So see if everybody else is on the same page.
Yeah. So I think that the talent, again, I still believe that they're very talented players, but also you have to remember the Jets defense is very good. Like, they were supposed to have a top 5 defense this year. They have really good corners, and sometimes game plans don't fixate into what ends up unfolding. We're going to see what the Jets ended up playing, and obviously when we get the All-22, we'll see who's open, who's not. I also don't necessarily know if they're getting open, if they're being asked to run routes where they can get open, or if they're running routes that are meant to get it open against man coverage, running it into zone coverage. That's a big problem too that the Chiefs witnessed in week 1. They were running man beaters against zone. And when you have that, you see the disconnect. You lose. Yeah, exactly. There's a disconnect. So some of the issues where Mahomes is like, he's pressing, the offensive line isn't picking up the stunts. I know that the tight end, Travis Kelce, is going to see the defense the way that I'm seeing the defense. Okay. Early in the game, they were getting this guy involved. They were throwing to Kadarius Toney. They don't really get Justin Watson or MVS involved until later in the game, which was a little interesting to me. But honestly, if they wanted to focus on wide receivers, they would focus on wide receivers because Andy Reid would script it that way. They just don't do it. So whether it comes down to them not getting open, which if it is consistently a problem, then yeah, the Chiefs have a wide receiver problem. They will have one. Or if it's a game plan problem, that's less on the wide receivers and it's more on the coaches. But right now, I am worried about the Chiefs receivers being able to get open. It's not looking great. Sky Moore specifically is not been great this year. It's not been great. It's been a problem for somebody who was hyped up by all offseason and is his second year in the system. He's not being involved in the offense.
Yeah,
that's worrisome.
2 targets tonight, no catches. And one of those was not his fault. I'll give him that. You got to give the defense their credit too. I worry about tempo and pacing. 9 targets for Kels tonight. Rice was next with 5. So like literally half. And then Pacheco, Gray got 3. Tony, MVS, 2 targets apiece. I mean, more 2 targets. So like your 3 top wide receivers only get 2 targets out of all that. It's ridiculous. There's 30 passes thrown. Justin Watson, criminally underused again. And I'm interested to see what you find when you look at the tape. I ran a couple of things back. I think Justin Watson was getting open. And I think he was just 4th on the progression list. And there was too much pressure in Patrick's lap. And I don't mean pressure like he was running for his life, so he was breaking the pocket. It's that he felt he could step back from the pocket and still be able to deliver the ball. But there were too many dudes in his lap. Trey was getting beat up. Let's be real. Trey did not have a great game tonight. He's in my notes 3 or 4 times in a negative way. Let's see what he grades out at, because I'm hoping I missed something good.
I don't think you did. This has been my thing about Trey Smith. He's fun when he's mauling people, but this is a Jekyll and Hyde situation. He is very hit or miss. He is not consistent as a football player. And a lot of that is because he's very attacky. He attacks defensive players, and when you attack them, you can be put at a disadvantage to quicker players. Huff was diving in around him multiple times in this game. Jermaine Johnson, the entire defensive line was looping around the Chiefs' right side.
Yeah,
the Chiefs' right side. They were just taking whatever they wanted to. So we've praised Juwan Taylor's performance up until this game. He had a bad day. This was not just a penalty, which, again, I mean, he's in my notes twice. You cannot continue to have these penalties. I don't care.
And you should be playing better. Because let's be real. Jermaine Johnson's a crap player. Yeah, I said it, Jermaine. Remember me? Yeah, piss off. That guy, I'll tell you guys in the member section why I have such strong feelings about him. The only play he made is when a wide receiver tried to block him. So I don't want to hear the Jets fans that are all in my DMs about how great he is and how they were running all these games and he's the guy who's stirring the drink. No, he's not. Just got a bad night from the right tackle. Good luck. I don't want to hear it anymore. Sorry, I'm a little salty about this one, folks. Sorry to get sidetracked there. FLDB, Patrick going out of bounds before, to not get that clock to stop. It does, I agree with you, show that. If there are people in the chat, I know you can kick them out. This point shaving thing, I don't want to see it in the chat anymore. You see any of that, just kick them, boot them. No questions asked, no need. I'm sick and tired of it. So yes, there'll be more salt arg. I hate to tell you. There's a lot there. I'll tell you guys the story someday. Brazilian, anyone notice Mahomes drifting? Yeah, I mean, that was when the pocket's collapsing right in front of you, you have to get out of it. But I almost felt, Dan, that he specifically didn't try to break the pocket as much as I thought he would.
That too, and he didn't get out to his left. He was really getting out to his right where the kind of help defense was, and that was some of my issues. Like, he's drifting back, And if he got to the left a little bit, we would probably have seen a little bit more help from the wide receivers and some of the other players. But instead, he's getting to his right where the defense is then collapsing. But the times that he did get to his left, he threw a pick. It's tough. He just looked like he was uncomfortable because the offensive line, after the first quarter in the passing game, they didn't play well. They played pretty bad.
Yeah, it got off to a good start. Like you said, they were coasting at that point. G, in your opinion, what's wrong with the KC offense? I think it's a number of things. It's complacency by the offensive line at times. It's Patrick thinking that he can do anything whenever he wants and realize that there are some limitations even for him. And he knows them because he's been through them before. All these things about the back foot and the bad decision-making, he's been here before. Go back and watch the Bengals from a couple of years ago. And honestly, I do think that the separation factor is one thing, but they're also not using routes that take advantage of the body types that they have. You can slant and dig and sluggo all day long with these guys, and you don't need wide open windows. It's about timing. And if the offensive line can't block, then throws out the timing. If you don't have separation from the wide receivers, you have to choose to do that. You can't run all these plays that are supposed to get guys miraculously wide open when they don't run them right, or the defense is just sitting back and waiting for it. You got to be able to change up your game. That's what I'm seeing.
I'm going to say something that don't take to the wrong way. The Chiefs rely on Andy Reid too much. They rely on him to open everybody up. This offense is based purely on scheme. Everyone is supposed to be schemed open. And the reason that we're seeing players like Puka Nacua in LA go off every single week nearly is because they're using their body types, their players, to exactly what they want to. And you go look up Puka Nacua's charts on Next Gen Stats. It's all things he's good at. Okay? They don't ask him to do anything he's not good at. That's it. It's very simple. Get your players in the best position. And sometimes Andy Reid doesn't do it because he thinks he's smarter than every NFL defense. And honestly, Rashee Rice needs to run slants. He needs to run digs. He needs to be getting wide receiver screens. He needs to be asked to be that player. The glance routes are great too. Or anything that's breaking over the middle of the field, or put him on the outside, run downfield, throw him a jump ball. You need to use him the best way that he's going to be able to be productive. And right now, they're not doing it. They're not using Sky Moore that way either. He's running a ton of like zig routes, a ton of these short routes. He's not being asked to run anything over the middle either.
Nope. It's the stop and start destroys what Sky does.
Look at this chart.
This is what Dan's talking about. Nope.
Puka Nacua is just running everything in breaking over the middle of the field. And then you have a little bit of an out route every now and then. Look at this.
One dig or one deep out. You have one little slant. You have a little curly Q. Everything else is up and over, up and over, up and over. From the other side, up and over. You got a little curl. Sorry, there was a curl that he didn't get targeted on.
This should be Rashee Rice's route tree.
I will do that momentarily as you take this next question.
All right.
Ben, I think we covered that. Anything to add to that on the tackles?
Not really. I think we kind of, just had a bad they had a bad day out. Like the entire offensive line did not play very well in general. And the stunts were the biggest problem outside of Juwan Taylor's penalties consisting.
So let's see. They don't have this week's up yet. Game's only been over like an hour. We'll have to wait on that a little bit. But so here's Rashee from last week. A lot of looping. You see these routes where he's tight split. He's going out first and then bending it back, usually into split high safeties where you have two guys that converge on it. There's a small window there. You can get it done. And you can see that he does have completions in those. That's where the lines turn green, folks.
Yeah, even then, I mean, look, this was against the Bears. They attacked the same thing over the middle of the field in that game. That was exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And look, he had his best game as a pro.
I think what you come back to is I don't think there was enough healthy respect for the Jets defense. Let's be real. They're super fast too. Do I think that their linebackers are all world? No, but they are freaking fast.
Yeah.
I almost slipped there. That's the first time, folks. It's late, so bear with me. I'm going to keep going. But yeah, I mean, let's have some respect for the athletes that are out there as well, Oh, Peyton, I know this isn't Q&A. That'll be tomorrow. After a month of football, is it time to go for a proven wide receiver? I mean, you could certainly make that argument. I don't know who you're going to go for because it ain't Chase Claypool. For everybody asking me today, are you trading for Chase Claypool? I'm not. I got to tell you, you can't get Kadarius Toney, who you traded for last year, to show up consistently, whether it's injury or otherwise. What did he have? 3 targets tonight? And were any of those non-pop passes? I can't remember.
Yeah, there was one that was down the field.
Okay.
That one that he took the hit from the safety. It was actually a good design. Got in the ball, but where'd that go?
Yeah.
Like, where'd it go? I don't know. I didn't see him break over the middle of the field either. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, again, they traded for him to be a focal point of the offense, and obviously they don't feel like he's going to be healthy enough to do that. So pivot. You got to do something different.
Certainly doesn't seem like it. Does that mean an all-out trade for somebody? Possibly. I don't know what else you can do. Oh, now there's a pretty picture. Okay, we're gonna answer this first. But Peyton, yeah, if there's a trade to be had, yeah, maybe you do look at that. And maybe what you have in volume of talent, you can put on the practice squad and let it develop. And maybe you get somebody who you can rely on week to week to week. It's one thing to have all these targets, which I generally love, but you got to have somebody that you can go to besides Kels. And Bumpa, I don't agree with you, but it's a fair question at this point.
We'll find out. We'll find out for sure. Honestly, if the season continues like this for Sky Moore, that's almost all she wrote. I'll tell you right now. The proof is in the pudding for some of these guys that are drafted in the second round and they don't produce after first year. That's very telling for a lot of these players. We're going to find out. Honestly, this will be the year that we'll find out because production at some point, it's got to come. And if it doesn't.
Next. Thank you, Bumpa. Appreciate your support, pal.
Appreciate you.
Noah Gray's game. I thought it could have been good. I felt like they were trying to use him in smart ways. And then as soon as that one didn't complete and he got popped, like I think they just shut it down for some reason. And I'm not sure why.
Well, he got the touchdown pass. I mean, that was after that play. So
true. Fair enough.
They draw a couple things for him. And then again, crunch time. The targets stop going to Noah Gray. When things break down, this offense constricts. Okay. It's not free flowing. It's not everybody gets the ball. It's you get the ball and you get the ball. That's it. And the Chiefs want to be this team that distributes the football all over the place. But when things get tight and defenses play better and the offense isn't moving as well as it should, that mentality seemingly goes out the window.
Agreed. Okay, we got a couple other things we have to look at. But let's see, folks. I'm going to remove some of the wide receiver questions. Come back tomorrow night. I promise you, we will talk more about them. But we got to get through tonight. It's super late for most people, especially you East Coasters. I appreciate you guys. Let's see what Austin had to say. We play a lot more zone defense than usual. It seemed like there were plenty of holes in the coverage tonight. Surprised that they only gave up 18. I actually felt the opposite. I felt like they played more man than I expected.
It looked like that they were pretty close in a lot of these coverages. And I think early Spags was getting after it. And then the ball started coming out quicker. Like it just, the ball was, and I know that people are saying the Chiefs didn't get a lot of pressure. They got lots of pressure, but the ball's coming out quicker than Zach Wilson has ever gotten the football out in his NFL career. Ever. Okay. So you have to consider if they're blitzing and the ball's coming out quick, there's less defenders in the back to get some of their playmakers. And when you don't have those players, those small passes can go for big gains. So I think Spags just decided it was best to try to get pressure with 4 and hope maybe you get a hand on a ball or you get someone get loose and you get a sack. Or you get an interception with Zach Wilson trying to get the ball to come out a few times quickly. So I think that the defense, again, it's tough. Zach Wilson had his best, probably his best game ever, and he was still less efficient than Patrick Mahomes at one of his worst moments. So it tells you a little bit about what happened in this football game.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a fair point. Yardage is one thing. I was pointing that earlier. My fault, folks. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on some of the questionable calls like the safety and the horse collar? Let's be real. Refs are human too. There were some bad calls tonight. That's why Salah can be as pissed off as he want. I mean, that's fine. I would be in his position as well. But there are bad calls both ways. I don't. It's not all one sided. The Chiefs are not getting the Patriots treatment. Any fan base that tells you that's full of shit. Dang, I did it again. See, folks, it's late.
My TV knows how I feel.
The dents prove it. Just a minor note, but can we please scrap the D drops into coverage? Yeah, believe me, when you see both those guys, and it's not an experienced defensive end that we know can go do that, right? It's not somebody who's comfortable doing that. This is a rookie and a second-year player that, quite frankly, has no business playing backwards in his life. I'm happy for George. I think he's playing better. He ran out of juice in the third quarter. Let's be honest about it. And the other thing, Leo's did work on his hips because he did flip his hips a couple times tonight. And George cannot do what Leo can. And asking FAU and George Karlaftis to drop into space against guys like Garrett Wilson and even Randall Cobb. Cobb's slow and old. He might be older than me at this point. But he knows leverage and he knows how to get open, especially against a defensive end that's, pushing 300 pounds. Let's be real.
I hate it. I understand they're trying to get simulated pressures. I absolutely understand it. Felix is never going to be an outside linebacker, ever.
No.
He had a couple of very nice, missed close calls today where if this was the Zach Wilson from last week, he would have had 2 sacks in this game. Karlaftis would have had 3 sacks. Like, that's not getting talked about enough. The defensive ends were winning. This was not Zach Wilson, for whatever reason, turned into damn near prime Aaron Rodgers in some of these drives where he's just like throwing the ball back shoulder away from coverage, throwing it high point right in front of Leo Chanel's face, down the field on a line. What happened to this quarterback who last week got booed off the field and Joe Namath is calling for his job? What changed?
I'm going to tell you, obviously we won't know until we see 22, but I'll tell you right now, I can predict what is most likely the answer. And that is that in that particular drive, the Chiefs did what they did the drive before that and the drive before that. And that was simply a lack of adjustment because they underestimated that guy to be a quarterback. And bottom line, you'll tell me if I'm wrong. I'll review it too because I'm going to watch the defense. I'm not going to watch the offense because I frankly can't stomach it right now. So let's see who's next. Brandon, serious business inquiry. Yes.
Too.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry. We're running behind you guys. I haven't caught them all. Yeah, there's Brandon. Okay. Brandon. Yeah. Just hit me at rgrpodcasts@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Let me see if I can put it on screen because I have it somewhere here. There you go. So you guys can hit me. You can contact us about the show here anytime you want. rgrpodcasts, plural, @gmail.com. By the way, for those of you that are beer fans, I'm working on my GABF content. I filmed a ton of it. I just got to find time to edit it. And we're turning our GR Craft into food-oriented stuff as well so that Dan can do what he wants. I have a bunch of food stuff I need to post over there too. It's just, I need an editor. If you're a freelance editor, hit me at this email address right down here because I need help. There's too many videos and not enough time. So yeah, that's the easiest way. So Brandon, thanks. And I'm sorry. Did you waited long enough to do a super chat for that? Thanks for the support, but yeah, reach out to us there and I'll get you back. How excited were you guys for Pacheco for that long TD run? I mean, hey, I was throwing things nicely that time.
I was worried he was never going to get there because it took him so long to get to the open space. I was just like I'm like, Isaiah, I know you're fast. It just takes him so long to get there. And he's got, the power and the drive to get through tackles. but that power and drive is also what holds him back from hitting these holes sometimes. Like his knees have to get 6 feet off the ground sometimes just to get going.
Yeah.
But once he got moving, I mean, I'm like, yeah, there we go. Finally got him into some space.
Table Talk, welcome to the memberships. Thanks
What's
for
up,
joining us.
Table
We
Talk?
appreciate you. If you want in the Discord, you get the full bang as being a rookie member or above. You just got to link your Discord to your YouTube accounts in Discord. It's super simple in your settings, and that'll connect you instantly. No worries. You can thank FLDB for that. He did all the work.
Yep.
Appreciate you, dude. Teddy, thank you, buddy. Am I the only one worried about the $80 million tackle? He's getting put the team in negative positions with his constant penalties. I mean, yeah, I have to admit, I am a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
But not that he won't figure it out. Just that, like, it's going to be painful for a while.
Yeah, and we still have to remember he is 25 years old, right? He's still 25 years old. So, yes, I am worried about the money situation of this. And the fact that it's looking ugly right now, 4 games into the season, but it is 4 games into the season on a new team. Penalties were still kind of an issue before. And again, if it's becoming so much of a problem, there's more to talk about than the money. Like there's a lot more to talk about. Like what's going on? Like why is he not able to figure it out? Are the Chiefs in a need of a right tackle? Which I don't think they are.
I know. I think he can get there. Like I have no concerns about the future. Is there a left tackle in this team future? There absolutely is, and nothing against Donovan, but you can see why the Bucs were able to let him go. Like he's passable. He ain't getting any better. Age is not going to help him. So there is definitely a tackle in the Chiefs' future here very soon. But we'll see what happens with the dollars and cents. Thanks, Teddy. Appreciate you. Ryan, how about Cook on the touchdown saving open field tackle on Hall? Most safeties get beat. You're right. He had a great play there, and I put that that was in my notes as well. As was the one where he missed somebody, made great contact, but wasn't able to wrap up and went for a long gain too. So it was a plus up and down game for Brian Cook. Let's keep it real.
Brian Cook is on the top of my frustrations list. He frustrates me to no end. He never wraps up. He never wraps up ever. He does not want to. Like he got around Breece Hall, but that's because Breece Hall's still recovering. Breece Hall would have made him miss if last season, but he got a hand on him and then he was able to get going. But he's one of the more frustrating players to watch for me, week in and week out. I love you. Don't get me wrong, Brian, but you frustrate me.
He's coming along. I think he's playing better this year than he did last year. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go.
Nick, thank you, buddy. I think there's also some positive outlooks that come that we're able to beat a team with an aggressive and tough defense, and we're not 100% yet. That's fair. Absolutely. Especially when you're having to defend a team that has a 1-2 punch in their running back room that could have taken more advantage, I think. What did Hall run for? I wanted to say for average. He averaged 9.3.
Yeah, he just didn't get the ball a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So
he had that 43-yard rip.
True. But that's the nature of the run game. Eventually, you're going to hit one. I wish the Chiefs would remember that as well. And don't worry, folks, we're going to get to the pretty pictures because I have a couple here that I want to show you. I'm just trying to find the right ones. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you, buddy. Did Justin Ross even play? I know I saw him on special teams. I want to say he had a tackle on special teams. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, he was on there a couple times.
I didn't see him line up on offense, though. Maybe I'd missed it.
I did. Saw him a couple times.
You did?
Out there.
Okay, good. So I'm not crazy. Awesome. I like it when I'm not crazy. It's one of my goals. Let's see here. Callie, love the hat shirt combo. Yeah, he's very like ensemble-ish tonight, isn't it? Hey, and Callie, thank you for that. A win is a win. Yeah. I like your attitude. A win is a win. Any day you walk away with a W, be happy, at least a little bit. I like that. Bob, we talked about FAU. Appreciate you. Appreciate you too, Callie. Let's get back here because I just love these. They're making me sad and happy all at the same time, and I'm gonna show you guys why. So Dan, don't get frustrated. Well, whose chart is this tonight?
That's very clearly Patrick Mahomes' chart.
Yes, it is. The only two passes, only two passes of 20 yards plus, one was picked, the other was at 18 yards. And of the 5 that went beyond 15, yes, just 5 passes beyond 15 yards. You had 2 picks, 1 touchdown, and 2 incompletes. Not the prettiest picture.
What does that tell you about what the Chiefs are trying to do?
Well, exactly. And that's what it takes me to is what are they trying to do? Why are they running their routes in ways that you're not getting an opportunity there? A, that's because of coverage. And B, because I don't think they're using everybody correctly yet.
Yeah, like there's an entire area of that intermediate part of the 15 yards down the field, the middle parts, that they're not throwing to. They're
Right.
not throwing it to. I don't understand with all the pre-snap motion that they do, getting jet sweeps going one way, going the other way. You should be able to pull linebackers out of the middle of the field and throw behind them, but they're not running the digs behind them to do that. So that is a problem.
And you did a great job explaining route concepts in combination, folks. If you're not watching the Wednesday film rooms, you need to because it explains the game. And Dan, you're doing a great job with that. I tried to cut up some extra shorts to show some of that. So you guys check out the shorts feed from the channel as well because you do want to go see that. It does help understand what's going on and more importantly, what isn't going on right now. But on the happy side, what do you guys think this is?
That's just beautiful.
Yes. And it's okay to have a little bit of red. You know, sometimes you're going to have TFLs, but you know, when you get those long crossers, and it's funny how you can see that when he's starting from the far side, Pacheco does get a pretty good run to the right. You just got to love this. 115 for the kid today, playing in front of what is probably largely a home crowd, I have to think.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of friends and family would be my guess. So, hey, good for him. Tyler, you came back to one of the things we were talking about. Do you think that he's afraid to go left because Donovan Smith doesn't let go fast enough? I mean, hey, maybe there's a call he needs to make.
Fair. That's totally fair.
It seemed like the Chiefs did not take the Jets seriously. And Kel, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah. That's again, it's fair. It's completely fair. Zach Wilson had never given anyone any reason to treat them and to treat him right. with that much respect. So I got nothing.
I agree. Why no screens? Mark, there were a fair number of screens actually. Just wasn't always to the backs.
Yeah, they weren't to the backs. They had a couple to Travis, which were awesome. Honestly, I loved them. They were great.
I think Rasheed got one, didn't he? And I thought Noah got one. Yeah, there were a few, but it wasn't the backs. I think the speed and the acceleration of that defensive front, pulling your offensive lineman out of there, if it's not in the run game, I think is just a recipe for disaster. Get Patrick crushed. So I think that's probably why, but who knows? Only Andy knows in the end. Do you think that Pacheco runs like Marshawn, like the broadcast said? I've never once thought that.
No. Center of gravity is completely different. Marshawn ran much lower to the ground. He ran with more power, like in his crux of his body. Like the way that he ran, it was never like Isaiah runs upright. He almost stands straight up when he runs the ball. It's nearly straight up. And Marshawn was definitely behind his pads. It was down. It was condensed. It was spring-loaded. He was spring-loaded. Like he exploded into guys like forward and through. Isaiah just motors through them. Like he doesn't stop moving his feet.
The only thing that reminds me is when Isaiah does, like, he sees contact coming and he kind of ducks down, kind of gathers his head. That's the only similarity.
Do you see how far down he's got to go, though? He's got to go like all the way down.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a process. You could see him lower instead of gravity. It's tough, man. Daryl, where is my milestone? I don't know what that is.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure, Daryl. I did see Daryl say he was trying to get drunk, so it's possible that this is just a throw off. But you do you, man. You do you.
Whoop whoop! It's Sunday night at midnight. Let's get it on. Chief Boy, hope you're doing good. Treat Taylor the same way y'all treat OBJ. Ooh, okay.
I mean, to be fair, Orlando Brown Jr. had 2+ years in the Chiefs offense when we were, talking about his struggles, and Juwan Taylor, we are talking about his struggles. We are also understanding that this is his 4th game as a Kansas City Chief. So there's a little bit, again, if this is happening next year at this time and it's the same kind of stuff, yeah, we're treating the exact same way because that's a problem. It's a systemic problem. But
yeah,
it's 4 games. Got to give a little bit here.
I hope and I think that we might see a bit of a dynamic change with the Chiefs' next left tackle. I'm just going to put it that way. Because the 2 guys that I think are the best fits in Kansas City coming out of this next draft class are not the Juwan Taylor dancing bear types. They're more power-based rooting. They get to their spot and they anchor it and they don't get bull rushed and they don't get run around and they put dudes in the dirt when they need to. And that's where I'm coming from. Let's hope that that's the way that it works out.
Let's see.
Great question, Jackson. Does Bolton change anything about this game?
No.
I think in one way. The only thing that I think is I saw Willie blitz 3 times. I saw Tranquil twice. That might not be all of them. There could be more, but I'm just saying. I think Nick might have gotten home on 1 or 2 more than those guys.
Yeah, he brings more speed downhill, so maybe they can mug him up a little bit more, and you might be able to get some one-on-ones and inside a little bit differently. I think that maybe he changes it that way. But in terms of like his production, if he's playing coverage better, probably not.
Yeah, agreed. Backwards, not so much. Caddy, you're back. Hope you're doing well. 2 touchdown passes get away from Pat, and Taylor misreads the blitz accounts for most of their points. Positive. I'll take this as evidence we can win ugly. And that's where I'm at too. Run the ball, have your defense step up, and be able to absorb some mistakes. And that's a whole different kind of pressure than the Chiefs have had in years, and honestly, Mahomes' whole career.
Let's not forget, last year we were losing our minds as the Chiefs go to overtime versus the Texans. Remember this. This happened. This was a real thing on the Chiefs' way to winning the Super Bowl. So there's always going to be a little bit of what's the word? A little bit of perspective when we're watching these and we're reacting to this game. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to bring up something. Jerick McKinnon in the Super Bowl, instead of scoring a touchdown and giving himself glory scoring in a Super Bowl, he slides down. Early in this 4th quarter drive, Isaiah Pacheco, with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left on the clock, slides. Does not go out of bounds, slides to force Robert Salah to have to use a timeout. And then to win the game, Patrick Mahomes could run, and yes, it would be impossible for them to maybe score 10 points. Instead of scoring a touchdown, Patrick Mahomes gets the first down and slides to seal the game. 0 questions. No one gets the ball. This kind of win, it hurts. It hurts us watching. It hurts them to have to deal with this, to say we didn't show up. And they know they didn't show up in the last 3 quarters. Winners win in moments like this, when you don't have your A game, when the other team raises their level to something you had not seen before.
Right.
You find a way to win. Now, consistently seeing this type of performance is not ideal. But don't forget, after the bye is when things matter for the Chiefs. That's what we need to keep in perspective.
Yeah. Like they're not even they won't put the hammer down. Like you're cruising around. You have like a new pace car vet, right? And they won't let you hit 4th gear. It's just the way that they go about things. Miss Holly, glad you made it. Appreciate you, and appreciate you as too, Rachel. Nice to see you. Caddy, again, thank you for your support, buddy. Appreciate it. Raspberries, did Joshua Williams, Nick Jones, how did they look? I don't recall seeing.
I don't think Nick played.
I was trying to find Jones, but was consumed with rage. Yeah, that happens, buddy. Joshua was up and down, in my opinion. The guy that I actually felt played pretty well, and I'm not sure if he was 20 snaps even, but I thought Shamari Conner looked comfortable. I thought he made good plays. I didn't see him out of position. I didn't see him miss any tackles.
I also didn't see him playing much when the Jets were scoring.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
which I feel interesting because again, he was mugging up sometimes, if I'm not mistaken. Like he was up, so you saw that kind of go away, and the defense changed a little bit too. But Josh Williams had, again, like I said, up and down. I loved him coming downhill in the run game and getting to Breece Hall and just saying, "Yeah, you're not going anywhere. My arms are long and they're strong, so I'm going to get you." That's what he does very well.
Down to get the friction on. Oh, sorry. Had a flashback there. Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate you. We were trying to understand, so hope you're having a good time, buddy. Would a Pitts trade be helpful?
You can't afford Pitts. You can't. He's a top 5 pick. They don't even have the space to afford him. So,
yeah. I mean, even if you could manage it,
Atlanta's still not going to.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, is he functional? Like, how depressed is he by this whole process? And I'm a Desmond Ritter guy. Like, yeah, that's a fair point. I'm a Desmond Ritter guy, and even Desmond is not feeling even close to his potential. And I think it's just a terrible match with the offense that they run in Atlanta. I think if you put Des somewhere else, I think he'd be doing better. I think if you put Kyle somewhere else, he'd be doing a lot better. But some of that can be traumatizing in the meantime, Des.
Found a stat.
Okay.
Found a very cool stat. Zach Wilson of the Jets is the only opposing quarterback to have more completions, passing yards, touchdown passes, and fewer interceptions than Patrick Mahomes in a Mahomes start in college or pro. And guess what? Guys? Guess what? Chiefs won that game.
Yeah.
It's never happened before, and they won it.
Man.
It sucks that it was Zach Wilson that did it. But guess what? They won. The W.
Bro Break, appreciate you. Thanks for the support, pal. Concentrate on the W. That's what it's about. Jeremy, I think Watson was being changed out a bit and kind of threw off Snead's game. Being out. Oh, Watson being out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, possibly, but he's played with Joshua Williams quite a bit too. I didn't think Snead. I thought Snead played pretty well, actually.
Snead was fantastic, specifically on Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Only allowing 2 catches for 20 yards the entire night. And he played 12 reps of press man coverage against the 2. He was pretty good against Zach Wilson or against Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I like that. I don't recall anything. I honestly don't think I have him in my notes at all. So quiet night means he was doing his job. Is this the best defense they will face? No. They'll play the Niners and the Eagles, I'm pretty sure. Aren't the Niners on the schedule?
I don't think they play the Niners this year.
Okay, they'll play one of them then.
I don't think the Eagles defense is that good. I'll be very honest with you. I don't think it's that good.
Okay, fair enough.
Right now, I think this iteration of the Jets defense that we saw might be the best. Definitely has the most athletes and speed that the Chiefs might not see anywhere else.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's likely. Nightbot. Oh, thank you. If you guys would like the video and subscribe, that would be great. The algorithm loves it when you do that, even when it's approaching midnight in Kansas City. We got to get Dan to bed here pretty soon. Church, it reminded me of the Willis Titans game last year. Yeah. I mean, honestly, they do this every early season, and then they figure it out. And so we got to have faith. I think that's the only way we can get it done. And Kip, thank you. Appreciate you very much.
We got Kip's comment right here. So appreciate the super chat, and here he is.
Oh, okay. Whoops. I really like your guys' coverage on the Chiefs. You are awesome. Sorry about this, Jared. No worries, Kip, and thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate and appreciate the kind words. We do our best, and we try to not pull punches. It is what it is. Sometimes things are pretty, and sometimes they ain't. And more, they ain't. When you're the guy on top, you get everybody's best punch every single time. And I think that's what we're seeing now. So I'd love to say that they're going to round it out and, they're going to be like gangbusters next September or the September after that. I don't think they are. I think it's going to be a constant journey in September and October every season to find out how they're going to get things done to get to the postseason.
Yeah, that's what this is. They got to figure out what's working, and game planning can not work out sometimes. And I think we've seen that a couple of games already.
Yeah. Arg, this is fair. Maybe Sal's just got a little revenge factor he's working on. Like I said, if I were him, I'd have been pissed off too. What are you gonna do? You gotta go to bat for your guys. So it is what it is. Bottom line, I thought they earned the win. This wasn't given to them. I know a lot of folks are complaining online that the Chiefs are getting the Patriots treatment now. I think that's BS. I don't agree with that. So, Kip, thank you for your comments. Dan, thank you for staying up. Any last thoughts from you?
No, you guys gotta maybe put this one in the fire. Just kind of forget about it. The Chiefs won't, but you guys all can, because at the end of the day, they still did end up winning. And that 3-1 looks the same no matter how ugly the win was when we watched it. So
yeah,
that's kind of how we have to treat this one. And my last parting words are, I think that Rashee Rice is the key to unlocking this wide receiver room. I think he should be the focal point. What we've seen from him after the catch specifically is what the Chiefs want. That's what they want to do, is they want to catch, go to yards after the catch. And I think Rashee does that better than anybody outside of Kadarius Toney, but his limbs are made of things that just don't stand up to NFL. So just kind of have to work that in every now and then. But Rashee Rice is definitely impressing me. Got to get his head right for the drops, though. 4 straight games of drops. It's not great.
No, it's not. Hang on a second. I'm not sure what's going on in there, but we got a last minute super chat from Kevin. I want to make sure he gets his money worth. Thank you, Kevin. Do the Chiefs just not know how to incorporate a night body like Justin Ross to the game plan? I mean, they do, but it doesn't fit what they want to do. Like, going back all the way to Chris Conley. If they wanted the bigger body thing, the closest they ever got is what they did with Sammy, because they actually used some of Sammy's traits.
Yeah.
But now we're just trying to get them to go back to that. And that's unfortunately just not what Andy does. So thank you guys for being here with us. I know it's late. We're going to let you go. Have a great Monday. We're going to be live at the Q&A tomorrow night, like always. So bring your questions. You guys are running the show. Dan and I are just along for the ride. So appreciate your time. Dan, say hi to the little one for me and have a good night.
Always. You guys make sure to, again, just don't take it too hard. 3-1 is still 3-1. Promise.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 wins coming at you. We'll talk about that starting tomorrow. Have a good one.